Okay, so what we'll do is we'll proceed with the last session of the day, which is on Salam and Istisna as tools for economic growth and development, practicality, considerations, market reality, and accounting challenges. For this, the session chairman is Mr. Firaz Hamdan. He is a member of AOIFI accounting boards. Please join me in welcoming him to the stage. Joining him on this panel are some of the leading minds on the topic. Mr. Hondamir Nusrat Khujaev. He is a senior financial analyst of Islamic Development Bank. Can I request you to kindly join me on stage? Okay, Dr. Muhammad Ainab. He is the head of Sharia compliance at Som Bank from Somalia. And I think it's quite relevant to mention here that Som Bank this year signed an agreement with AOIFI for the registration of all their entire staff to our e-learning portal. And in addition to they also reached out to students from universities in different cities in Somalia to register for our CP FAS and CPSS qualification. And as a matter of fact, they are going to register 5,000 Islamic finance enthusiasts to our e-learning portal over the next 5 years. And finally, we have Sheikh Irshad Ijaz, chairman of the Sharia Advisory Committee at State Bank of Pakistan. So Dr. Firaz Hamdan, you may take over now.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين أبي القاسم محمد وآل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين ومن تبعه بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. Brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Statistics for Islamic financial products that are used in this industry, Islamic financial industry, may differ from jurisdiction to another, but most of them say that 80 to 90% is constituted from murabaha, in different shapes of murabaha, including tawarruk. 5 to 10% is ijara, slightly less than that for wikala bil-istismar, and the rest for the other products, it may reach nearly zero for Salam and Istisna. This confirms what Dr. Suwailim said in his opening speech, that the industry is losing its soul. As I recall the metaphor he used, Qais without Layla. So what we need is to change this fact. We need different aspects. He mentioned that this is for the appetite of goes for the appetite of regulators and clients. I may add that also for the innovators or developers of such products, because in the last few years, most efforts was concentrating on mimicking or Islamizing conventional banks. That's why most of our products is similar to conventional products. And that's a big problem for us. Why is that? Also, Dr. Suhail mentioned an experience that done in Algeria with the help of AAOIFI, how to use AI and get benefit of AI in standard setting process of accounting standards. And how they fed the data to the module to do so. And another panelist in the same session talked about the importance of big data in feeding big data in AI. So The result or outcome of AI would be what you have fed to the computer and to the module. Hence, if we continue the same way in feeding data, mimicking conventional products, the ultimate target would be just conventional banks with different names. So what we need is real innovation to go to basis of Islamic financial products, to the authentic products like Salam and Istisna, also Musharaka and Mudarab, but this session is concerned with Salam and Istisna. And we have to do it fast, because as Sheikh Ibrahim said, we are not waiting for AI. AI is here. It already came, and we are behind. So we should act fast and start developing such products. Now, how to do so, it's not that hard, but we need the will to do so and the expertise. And I fully trust that we do have the expertise, and all we need is the will. So what we need is a proper financial structure for these instruments, advanced development for Sharia rulings for these instruments, and proper governance, reporting, auditing, and so on. For this, I will grasp the opportunity to have 3 distinguished guests with us here from different backgrounds to have their experience and how they can help in this area. And to have the most benefit of this session, we will try to leave a room for Q&As at the end of the session. So we'll try to limit ourselves for around 10 minutes for each panelist, distributed in 2 rounds of questions. The first round would be one similar question for the 3, which is, in your institution or jurisdiction, what is considered proper Salam and Istisna product, and what is the potential for future growth and development in these products? We will start with my friend, a former colleague of mine, and the accounting board member. He's an accounting board member in AAOIFI, and currently he's specialist in financial analyst in IDB. I mean, Brother Handamir. Kindly, let's start with you about your experience for Salam or Istisna, and I know that you have some Istisna in IDB and this subject.
Yes, Assalamu alaikum, dear guests. It is a privilege to be on the stage, and especially discussing the Istisna and Salam, which are, I would say, the major economic drivers, or should be the major economic drivers, because this is not about the credit risk, but it's about the real economic development, business development, both products. For example, if you take Istisna, Istisna is very different, and that's why we have 2 standards now. We have FAS 52 and FAS 53, because if you look at it, even making a coffee, making a coffee is Istisna contract, because you come to the coffee shop and they're making the coffee to you. At the same time, the projects like in Saudi Arabia, like NEOM, this is a major infrastructure project, which is for billion and billion dollars. It is also Istisna. So those projects are key economic drivers, and IDB is actually probably the main financial institution that undertakes Istisna, and through Istisna it develops the social infrastructure, economic infrastructure in the member countries. So we have a hands-on experience on Istisna. So, for example, if you look at it, how IDB finances the infrastructure projects in the member countries, it is actually, you know, the fundamental difference between the, you know, AAOIFI and IFRS, or the way that IFRS treats such projects is that it's a financial instrument. It's financial instrument. So everything is basically is down to the effective interest rate. However, in the case of IDB actually shares the construction risk. It actually is engaged in the manufacturing. That's why, for example, you have, in our bank, you have engineers, you have procurement specialists. So IDB actually does take part in the actual construction of the projects. So if you look at it, so from the very beginning, we work closely with the member countries in creating their social infrastructure or economic infrastructure. So we're working on the procurement guidelines, on the specific procurement, on the milestones. So if you look how we are working with the member countries, is that we're actually following the construction process and we take the risk. So it is the major projects which take, for example, about 15 to 20 years to develop. Like 5 years to develop, and then for the member countries for 10, 15 years to pay the price. So certainly for us, the new standards like 53 specifically is instrumental because, as you know, the first comes the phenomenon, and then fiqh follows it, and then accounting should follow the fiqh. So Istisna, unfortunately, today in the Islamic banking takes a very little share in the financing. So we have to take more steps to actually increase the share of Istisna, because this is where Islamic finance can be different from the conventional banking, And again, if you look at it, it's not just about taking the risk. Of course, there is a significant risk in manufacturing, in construction. You know, you have price escalations, you have cost overruns, you have, for example, delays, but this all can be managed, and Islamic banks now know how to manage risk, and I think my colleagues would actually talk about this, you know, from the Sharia perspective, how to manage those risks. So it's not about taking uncalculated risk. No, it is about taking the calculated risk, but actually taking the risk, taking the construction risk, and mitigating those risks. So there are risk management, there are Sharia ways of managing the risk, and certainly in accounting we do account for those. So if you look at the Salam, again, Salam is a great tool to, you know, to help for example, the farmers or any other producers with the liquidity. It gives you the price stability. It reduces your marketing cost because, you know, you already know your buyer. So again, why Islamic banks are not using this? Because unfortunately we just got accustomed to one risk and only one, which is the credit risk. So we need to learn how to actually take other risks and how to mitigate them. And Salam is a great product. For example, you know, I can see that for ILM, you know, it issues Salam Sukuk, which is a great support for the liquidity for the Islamic banks. So again, we need to work more towards the products like Salam and Istisna. And I know, for example, Bangladesh, they now introduced the Istisna LC for the textile exporters. Is a very good, again, innovation. You know, Istisna LC, which helps actually pre-shipment to finance pre-shipment. So Istisna can be used in many ways, both short-term and the long-term. The same way, Salam, it's a great, you know, it's a great treasury management tool, a liquidity management tool. At the same time, it's a great tool for actual economic contribution towards the farmers and the producers. So we need to increase the share of those products.
Thank you, Brother Hondamir. Well, risk is definitely an important factor, and we need it in Islamic industry, Islamic financial industry, but also we need how to mitigate it, as you said. We also have with us Mufti Irshad Ijaz. He's chairman of Sharia Board of State Bank of Pakistan. He is member of different Sharia boards and member of Governance and Ethics Board of AAOIFI. I just summarized the bio. We don't have time to list all your efforts. Thank you for your efforts. Mufti Irshad, the same question for you. What do you have for Salam and Istisna financial structure in Pakistan? And what do you see as a development factor, or what do you see as opportunity for developing it?
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Thank you very much, Brother Firas, and thanks to AAOIFI for arranging this very nice conference. Basically, Salam and Istisna are a well-known mode of financing that are used and that can be used for development for many commodity and asset-based program. I would like to discuss about 2 points here. The first point, practically keeping in view the Pakistani situation. In Pakistan, we are focusing on bringing solution for development of the sector which require trade-based mode or asset-related mode. For example, the food security program in any country is very important program. The government commodity purchase operations and commodity acquiring operation for food security, basic staple food in any country, is a very important program. In Pakistan, some years back, Islamic banks started this commodity purchase operation with the help of governmental banks, and they started contributing in this program by using the mode of Salam. So by the using of mode of Salam, Islamic banks acquired the quantity of required wheat or any commodity that is required for a food safety program, and they started financing through Salam. And also there are a lot of development program, for example, public sector development program, which is a very big budget point of any federal or a provincial government. So these programs can also be financed under Istisna. So Istisna and Salam are used by corporate banking, investment banking, and by provincial governments, and federal governments can be used by provincial and federal governments. This is the first point. The second point, some issues in practicalities, because all of us are aware of the fact that the trade-based mode are not easily tradable. Sometimes they are not tradable, and sometimes during the period of the acquisition of commodity before the selling credit. So these are easily not manageable, not tradable. And also the extension program, the extension in the limit is also very difficult for them. And this is the problem in many countries, especially the government finance program, that the extension is generally possible. The government generally want to extend the overall credit period. So some limitations are there, number one. Number two, the second limitation, which is a very important limitation, the banks are exposed to commodity and exposed to the assets. And system resilience departments of central banks, now they are very concerned because of the size of Islamic banking increasing. So if the penetration ratio is reaching 25 and 30%, and Islamic banks, if they are using around 2 to 5% or on trade-based mode, so their exposure to commodities and assets is getting day by day higher. And keeping in view the Basel requirement, other risk-weighted asset holding requirement, and the commodity exposure, system resilience, now there are some need for development for strengthening of this problem. So one alternative has been suggested, although it is not in practice now, but an integrated model has been suggested by some research scholar and by Islamic Bank, in which Islamic Bank can perform these type of operations, can finance development program, commodity purchase operation, but it can be done through integration by state-owned or a big commodity holding companies like the trading corporation in some countries. So the exposure would be on the trading corporation, and the trading corporation can hold these commodities or can hold these type of IBSs, so that the exposure of the banks on the commodities can be, by this way, can be managed, and these exposures can be managed by putting on basic and big institution, state-owned institution. So this is basically issue, and we are experiencing, and day by day there are some recommendations. But no doubt, practically, these two modes are very important for the development. And the last point that I want to comment here, these modes can only be used for future programs, for future development and future purchase. But Islamic countries are now in a problem of converting existing debts. So the existing debt, these modes are, they have limitation for conversion or for financing of the existing. If they are interest-based modes and the government wants to issue some sukuk or they want to get some financing by converting existing debt, so there are some difficulties. So keeping in view these difficulties, but they are very useful modes and they are used.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, doctor. Definitely, all what you said for asset acquisition is a problem and a headache, especially for regulators. They don't like that, and they don't like for the financial institutions to acquire assets and keep them in their balance sheet. And it's a big problem, and we need a help in that area also by with regulators.
Yes.
We move now to Brother Muhammad Ainab. He's from Somaliland. He's a Sharia advisor and compliance expert. He currently heads the Sharia advisory in Soma Bank. Kindly answer the same question. As you mentioned yesterday, that Istisna has a bigger portion than zero, which in your country.
Yeah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah. Ba'd. Thank you, Brother Firas Hamdan. First of all, I want to correct you. I'm not from Somaliland. I'm from Somalia. Yeah. Actually, Somaliland is part of Somalia. Yeah, it's northern parts of the country. Coming back to the question, we have an Islamic principle which is very popular in classical fiqh, and which is the financial transactions should be linked to assets, to productive activity. And I think that principle is 100% reflected in all sale agreements, including Murabaha, Salam, Istisna. And Somalia, one of the unique aspects of Somalia is that we have 13 licensed commercial banks. All of them are Islamic, 100%. We have, a full Sharia governance mechanism, Sharia board, Sharia compliance department, and also Sharia audit units. And also there is an external Sharia auditor for these banks. And Alhamdulillah, the country is coming from decades of civil war. Alhamdulillah, Mogadishu now, the capital of Somalia, is one of the fastest growing cities in the country, and that needs to reflects the need of financing buildings, residential apartments, buildings, commercial buildings. And Alhamdulillah, for the bank I work for, some bank, we have a good portion of Istisna in the financing portfolio. At the beginning, we were concentrating on Murabaha, but for the last 5 years, we are moving to Istisna. And alhamdulillah, now we have in our bank like 100 facilities, Istisna facilities, and that tells you about gives you the importance of as there are diaspora coming from outside of the country and coming back to the country. So we finance, buildings, residential buildings, commercial buildings for these diaspora who are coming from outside. And alhamdulillah, in the future, we are going to implement also Istisna to put Istisna into our financing portfolio, inshallah, next future. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We'll keep with you also if you want to look for developing such products, and we want to look the role of Sharia on overcoming such obstacles that were mentioned earlier now.
Yeah. The Sharia, sets the foundation for we have different types of contracts, we have exchange contracts, musharaka contracts, partnership contracts, guarantee security contracts. So there should be, for example, the Sharia board as one of the most important factors in the Sharia governance. When they are, for example, approving products based on Salam or Istisna, they should also set, guidelines for these products. Sometimes, the management, if the Sharia board do not put a guideline for any newly approved product, the management may face, challenges. Also, there should be, an internal mechanism, follow-up mechanism, where, for example, the Sharia compliance units and departments, should make sure that, the management follow 100% the fatwas and the guidelines issued by the Sharia board. And also we should have, internal Sharia audit, annual basis, or, from time to time, to give, independent and objective assurance that, the guidelines and the fatwas of the Sharia board is going to be implemented as issued by the Sharia board. So this will, I think, ensure 100% follow-up of the guidelines and the fatwas issued by the Sharia board.
Thank you, Brother Ainab. We go back to Mufti Ijaz. We have two standards on Sharia for Salam and Istisna. What do you think? First, I will ask two questions together. First, do you think that there would be a revision or better development to help overcoming the obstacles that were mentioned now? And second, out of your role in governance board, do you think we need more governance, or there's a difference between the governance needed for these instruments from the ones that exist now?
Basically, the Sharia standards cover the Sharia aspects. So, in my view, obviously there is a need for development of Sharia standard after 3 or 5 years. But majority of these issues are related to regulation and governance model of any country. So probably the Sharia standard may not cover all these issues which are especially related to, for example, some related are related with taxation, some related with domestic regulation for commodity holding, and because of the structure of different regime. For example, in Pakistan we have a structure of federation and province. In some country they have the structure of federation and they have single country, or the concept of state and other. So because of these things, some domestic issues are sometimes become important. And secondly, so far as the governance board and governance guideline are concerned, yes, they can solve some of the issues. For example, they can set some parameter for the risk management and the commodity holding and other requirement. But it is basically the country's appetite for risk and their readiness for conversion, and their readiness for taking the exposure for Islamic financial institution. And some countries, they are ready and they work for that, and some other countries are not ready for that and they want to comply strictly with international standards and some documentation. And the third issue that we are facing, and we think that this is an issue, generally the banking, the central bank and banking companies laws in every country are very old, around 50 years or 70 years old, or maybe 40 years old. And Islamic banking, if we say the modern age of Islamic banking, is not more than 30 years. So majority of the banking laws, still they lack coverage of Islamic modes and Islamic risk and Islamic financial features. So unless we change the existing legal structure, for example, the prohibition for commercial banks to hold the commodity, and now there is a requirement to permit them under strict regulation so that they can work as a trading house or as a commodity financing entities. And in Pakistan, we have conducted a legal gap analysis. So this legal gap analysis showed us that there is a requirement for changing in around more than 25 laws that deal with banks, banking companies, corporation, and also the arbitration law, banking companies law, and other laws, and taxation laws. So I think in coming years, when this need is now is felt in everywhere, so I hope that after bringing these type of changes in legal structure and permission of the central bank laws and banking companies laws, things become a little bit easy, and obviously because of the system, financial system resilience and financial system protection, the strict control and strict laws are required so that the banks are not exposed to greater risk. But along with this, there is a requirement for giving banks room for catering this basic features and requirement of these Islamic modes. I think in coming future, around 5 to 10 years, hopefully many of the problems ultimately being felt at international level, the solution may come either from governance board of IFSB and of institution like that, hopefully, inshallah.
Thank you, Mufti Ijaz. I see that taxation is a common issue in different countries.
Yes.
And laws are rigid. It's not easy to change.
Yes.
But also at the same time waiting for 10 years to change and
Hopefully.
help, hopefully. And with the presence of AI, during that time, I think robots will be sitting instead of us and trying to solve the matter. So I don't know how to do it with authority, but I think it is a common problem in many countries, including my country. We have a big issue in taxation and the legislations that are there. We try our best to have impact on law and regulations, but as you said, it's rigid and it's slow. It's slower than a turtle in this sense. Okay, Brother Hondamir, when we have the product and we have the proper Sharia for it and the governance, the ultimate result will be shown in financial reporting. AAOIFI already have two standards for Salam and Parallel Salam, Istisna and Parallel Istisna. And now they revised them and issued two exposure drafts in this sense. What do you see the major differences and main topics of interest in these two standards?
Yes, but let me just maybe join Brother Irshad, and we all complain that banks only deal with murabaha or even commodity murabaha. But if you look at it, why Istisna and Salam is not there is actually, there are two reasons basically. One is the regulator Because if you look at the like Basel requirements or any equivalent requirements in any central bank for the capital adequacy, you can see that murabaha, if it's collateralized, for example, there's a very little charge on the capital. Whereby if you look at the istisna, where you actually have to take the real asset risk, or commodity where you have to take commodity risk, or musharaka where you have to take the entrepreneurship risk, or partnership risk, then there is a huge charge, capital charge. So certainly, the regulators need to change that approach so that Islamic banks are encouraged to use istisna and salam. Second is that unfortunately, many banks, they only know how to work with money, so they are not accustomed to taking any other risks. So if we really want to increase istisna and salam, we need to actually change. That should be so it should be a mindset shift and also the regulatory change. Now, in terms of the accounting, so as you know, we had FAS number 7 and FAS number 10 for Salam and Istisna. They were developed back in 98 and 2000. Since then, there were major changes in terms of how the products are being implemented, how they're being used, and as I said, this is real phenomenon, So this phenomenon basically, at the end of the day, everything ends up in the financial statements, because you do not assess a company by the number of bricks which are being produced by the tons of cotton. You actually assess the company by the assets and liabilities and financial performance. So certainly accounting has a significant impact, and AAOIFI realized how major changes have taken place in the Salam and Istisna. Current standards actually are lacking certain accounting aspects. For example, if you look at the Salam, when do we recognize revenue? If you look at the IFRS treats almost everything as a financial instrument. So once you made a disbursement, you need to start accruing the income. But in terms of the Sharia, when you make a disbursement on Salam, it's a debt. It's a debt. You cannot accrue income on a debt because it's going to be tantamount to riba. So what happens is that you need to clearly demarcate when you have a right to actually to recognize a revenue. And this new standard actually introduced the concept of risk control and transfer control. When do you actually transfer the control of the asset? So it delineates clearly now when an Islamic financial institution can recognize revenue. Even if you have parallel Salam, you can only do that when you actually transfer the control over the goods to the buyer. And also, if you have Salam and parallel Salam, you have to recognize both the assets as a Salam advance, and if you got a prepayment from the ultimate buyer in a value chain, you would recognize this as a liability. So if you look at the IFRS, it may treat this even as a derivative, it may do a net recognition, which would be significantly different from AAOIFI. So this new standard, 52, clearly demarcates, the control and transfer and control. Second thing is that it also talks about the onerous contracts, because, for example, if the price has gone down, significantly has gone down, so then you need to recognize the the loss on the Salam. It also talks about specifically now the NRV, net realizable value. It talks about the market risks. So these are some major changes in terms of the accounting, reporting, and recognition on the Salam. In terms of Istisna, again, Istisna some major changes. For example, as I said, the current Istisna projects are major construction projects, and certainly you have the cost overruns, you have some performance ambiguities, you have some specification changes, you have some delays. So in the current like BOT and other contracts, all these elements are being specifically articulated in the contract. So in the previous Istisna contract, there was nothing about how to deal with those price escalation, delays, what, you know, the changes in the price, how do you reflect those, right? So the other thing is that there was very much ambiguity in terms of how do you recognize revenue on the long-term construction projects. So this new standard now clearly, actually, first of all, what it does, it tried to come as close as possible to IFRS 15. So first, you have the notion of the performance obligation. So now you need to, again, what is the difference between the IFRS? IFRS, as soon as you make a disbursement, you need to start accruing the income. In terms of the new FAS 53, you can only accrue income if you have what? If you have actually delivered a milestone, a specific measurable milestone, so you need to show the evidence that this has been delivered through, for example, engineering certificates, through the engineering audits or whatever, so you have delivered that part, so now you have a right to recognize revenue on a proportionate basis, on the proportion of completion basis. So now the standard is very clear how much revenue you can recognize, when you can recognize. So previously in the previous standard it was very vague. It was very vague.
Okay, thank you. Well, we try our best to be like IFRS and reach IFRS, but at the same time, the main distinguish between Islamic financial institution and conventional ones is complying with Sharia requirement. So when IFRS doesn't fulfill this requirement, it's a need to deviate from it, but as much as we can, try to be in line with it. That's why we need AAOIFI and accounting of AAOIFI to cover these points. Otherwise, we don't need these standards. We just apply IFRS. So that's a good thing. And in Islamic, it all goes to revenues recognition. So most of the time, what delay standards setting for accounting is to agree with Sharia board and Sharia committee how to treat the revenues, because this is a major and most significant part in this sense. Okay, before we start questions, I have a question. You mentioned Salam and parallel Salam, Istisna and parallel Istisna. Some people, I am one of them back days, said that we use them to hedge. So parallel Salam is hedging for Salam, and parallel Istisna is hedging for Istisna. Now my opinion has changed. What do you think about it? Anyone care to answer?
Look, from a perspective, from accounting perspective, and actually from the product perspective, look, there is nothing wrong when the bank wants to actually manage its risk. That's first. Second, now we need to really look into it. Yes, we do manage that risk and we do hedge these risks, but in terms of even the Sharia and in terms of the accounting, these two are completely separate contracts. The Salam contract between the bank as a buyer and the contractor, and the parallel Salam contract between the bank as a seller and the ultimate buyer. These are two separate contracts. So actually that's a very good point, because IFRS looks at it as one, because they're looking at the economic substance. For them, they're looking at the economic substance. But in terms of the AAOIFI, it tells you we cannot only look at the economic substance, we need to look at the legal structure. Legally, even if, for example, even if the contractor fails, Islamic bank still has to deliver.
So you have a risk, additional risk to deliver products that you don't have because the first contract failed to fulfill.
Yes.
That's why I'm saying I changed my mind about hedging using these parallel instruments. Anyway, thank you for this discussion. We open the floor for questions. Mike?
Assalamu alaikum wa barakatuh. Hamid Omar from Djibouti. My question is directed to Dr. Muhammad. Thank you very much, Doctor, for the presentation. You have talked about the Istisna experience in Somalia and the use of Istisna in property development sector. My question will be first, what are the potential challenges in terms of dispute resolution? We know that Somalia now is recovering and is in a reconstruction process. So what's in terms of regulatory and legal aspect, do you face any obstacles or any challenges in terms of dispute resolution when you adapt to this kind of product? My question number 2 is that you have already mentioned that we are going through reconstruction process. What is the possibility of using Istisna product in a greater scale, for example, for the infrastructure project by the governments or big organizations rather than the retail sector? Thank you very much.
Okay, Dr. Annab.
Thank you, brother. One of the biggest challenges we have really faced is, banks are not mostly experienced in, the verification of the quality. So sometimes, the client requests something and maybe the product may not align with the specifications requested by the client. So that's one of the, challenges that we really have faced in real world examples. And also delays from the contractor sometimes. The contractor may not deliver for example, the apartment on time. And also, as you said, our regulatory framework is not set 100% yet. So there are no, acting laws, governing, Istisna. So I think these are in Somalia the most two challenges we face. The banks are not yet experienced in as we are new also to this sector, banking sector. For the last 15 years, banking sector itself is new in Somalia. Actually, I think I have answered the.
Okay,
yeah,
thank you very much. Mike, please.
Yeah.
There was a second part, I think, the question, which was, what is the possibility of that product being utilized in a bigger scale in terms of government infrastructure products,
Yeah, really there is a big potential for that. There are some, now there are projects, financed by the World Bank, roads, airports. So in the future, there is a big potential for the implementation of Istisna in infrastructure and and development.
Okay, thank you, brother.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. My question is probably more appropriate for the previous session, but I'll ask it regardless, specifically because one of our respected panelists referred to the experience of coming out of civil war, and also our respected moderator is from Lebanon, which also has a similar experience. So basically, my question is regarding the use of Islamic finance in war-devastated regions, like in reconstruction projects. And specifically, we have modern examples of, for example, Gaza, South Lebanon, Syria. So basically, I apologize if my question is a bit too general or abstract, but my question is that how can, in your opinion, Islamic finance and Islamic financial institutions lead the way in these reconstruction projects in war devastated regions? And also, what are the particular products which we can look towards, which will help us as an industry in this? And who do we look towards? Like, do we look towards the Islamic Development Bank or to regional banks? Or do we need other type of institutions like microfinance, P2P lending? And the other question, do we actually have a framework which can help Islamic finance to actually lead these reconstruction projects? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Well, you know, I'm from Lebanon, so you are asking about Lebanon. I'll start answering one part of this. We need help in developing and replacing what was demolished. But till now, it didn't start because we are, as we say, under siege till now. So we are not allowed to develop. And you said, who can help? Anyone can help. Any country, IDB, anyone is welcome to help in this sense. Yes, since we are going for construction, Istisna will be perfect for us and using it in Islamic banking to aid in this, and IDB may play a major role in that if laws permit. So it depends on the laws and regulations that are set between different countries and the agreements that can be done. As Mufti Irshad said, it all stops at the edge of the law, and law is rigid and it needs time to change. But need is the mother of innovation. So since we are desperate and in great need, maybe that will lead to have a quick change in laws that can aid in that sense. Another question?
Assalamu alaikum. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Muhammad Nur Anwar Sajavi from Bank Mizwa, Sultan of Oman. I have two questions, or rather suggestions. The first question is that we talk a lot about istisna, especially for the construction, and I do agree with Brother Hondamir just now that istisna has a certain risk, especially for a bank, to onboard the transaction because of many reasons. Capital charge, and then how to basically recognize the income, ECL, provision, and whatnot. I would like to see what is the opinion from the panel. These days, when we talk about construction, I think for a small scale, there is no issue at all for us to employ or deploy istisna contract. But if, let's say, we are talking about a big mega projects or trans-GCC or cross-country project, we are not talking a mere construction, but it is what we call EPC, engineering, procurement, and construction. And it have many models, BOT, BTO, BOT, and what have you. So in this regard, I think it is or could be worth for AAOIFI to perhaps comes up with a new Sharia standard, what we call muqawala. Muqawala is basically a civil coded approved law in any GCC, and that is also compatible with English law and Anglo-Saxon law, and also it being recognized by IFRS 9 as well. So rather than pushing Islamic Bank to basically use ma'yar on istisna, perhaps it is worth to look into muqawala as a new contract related to the syndicated financing on AAOIFI Sharia Standard number 24. That's one. Number two, on Salam. Salam, as what we know, Sharia Standard number 10, it is related to crops mostly. But these days we are dealing with many things, ma'adin, al-hajar, al-karima, and what have you. Do you think that we should also develop a new Sharia contract to deal with this type of thing, including, for example, rights on AI, on the basis of istijrar? Because istijrar, within that istijrar, we can have many contracts within murabaha, musawama, bay'ul wadi'ah, then it basically amplify and enable Islamic banks to do more innovation in terms of product structuring. Thank you.
Thank you. We have two questions here. I think first one for Brother Hundamir, if I'm not mistaken, because he's talking about Mukawala. Doesn't it fit in under Istisna with contracts? Because if you work with contracts for long terms and you have different layers and different phases, I think you can cater for what you said, revenue recognition on the time.
Yes, what the colleague has mentioned, on Muqawala basically is a contracting, right? So, look, again, Istisna is a contract which gives you a lot of flexibility, even for the mega projects. What can be done, as an example, you don't have to actually treat one mega project as one Istisna contract. You can split or segregate that mega project into various Istisna projects, which you look at them individually, because as you said, for a mega project there are significant risks which are not there for small projects. For example, if you're producing bricks, your working capital time is, for example, 3 months. But when you're doing the mega project in any country, it could be years. And it's not just the years, it's about the cost overruns, right? So you may not estimate the cost correctly, the price could escalate, inflation. Also, the interest rates are going up. Interest rates are going up or could go down. So all these are risks which you need to actually control. That's what we have in the standard and notion of onerous contract. Now, how to deal with this? As I said, what you can do, you can split this into various Istisna contracts. So every major milestone you can treat as a separate Istisna contract. So this way you significantly reduce the risk. But again, you reduce the risk. You do not completely erase the risk, because this is a difference between the Islamic banking, which takes risks additional to credit risk, whereby in the financial institution, in the conventional institution, you take only the credit risk. Because in Islamic finance, you actually are exposed to, at least to some level, to other than credit risk. So you have to take that risk, but you have the mechanisms of managing those. So as I said, you can split those into different, milestones, to different Istisna contracts with different terms.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Ijaz or Dr. Ainab, if someone care to answer the question about Salam and Istijrar.
See, for Salam, yes, Salam is possible for many products, not only the agricultural products, because the basic condition for Salam is homogeneity. So for some industrial products, it is also possible. But for so far as the precious stone and other, it may be a little bit difficult, because they are not generally, they are not homogeneous in nature. But yes, Salam and Istisna and Istijrar and other modes can be used. We are here basically discussing Salam Istisna only. We are not discussing the possibility for any project, because the possibility for any project or for a construction project it is possible under Istisna, and it is also possible some of the possibilities of Istijrar and some of the possibility of Ijara, and some hybrid nature of the product like Murabaha and diminishing Musharaka. So all these are possible. We are here just exploring what the possibilities of Salam and Istisna. Yes, your question is absolutely right, that the Muqabala and other can Salam and Istisna, and along with Istijrar and other both can be used easily.
Thank you. Is there a question? Yes.
Yes. Hello, everybody. Sayed Maun. I have a question, and I'd asked, because the topic of this entire conference is AI, so I decided to ask Claude for a question. And this is a very interesting one. Are there particular industries or economic sectors where these contracts have proven most effective versus those where they've underperformed? And another one, finally, not to waste too much time. are current AAOIFI standards adequate for modern Salam and Istisna applications, or what specific revisions are most urgently needed? The second one can be yes and no, that would be fine. Thank you.
For the second one, I think Brother Hondamir answered that for the current exposure draft is very adequate, and it caters for all the points required from accounting point of view. If you want the answer, yes, it covers it as accounting. Sorry.
I'll repeat it again. The first one. Are there particular industries where Salam and Istisna contracts have proven effective versus others where it's been like underestimated? That's what the question is about.
No, did not get what he's saying. Salam and Istisna, just
yes.
Can you speak a bit louder?
The first question I asked was what industries particularly where like these contracts have worked very well versus other industries where we thought it would work, but it's been disappointing.
See, Islamic banks generally use Salam and Istisna, where Islamic bank become the buyer of the commodity. They can be seller, but generally under these boards of Istisna and Salam, Islamic bank buy commodities. So these can be used easily for finished good financing and for stock financing, as compared to Murabaha. Murabaha is used generally for raw material financing. So Islamic bank in export in many countries, along with the Wakala for selling, they use Salam and Istisna. So these are useful products in especially corporate financing and some investment banking financing. But so far as the existing infrastructure financing is possible, so for that Ijara will be used. And in case of the development project, future assets development, so Istisna is generally useful. Istisna and Ijarat al-Mawsuf al-Zimma both are used for future asset development financing. Manufacturing and anything that is manufactured or constructed, both are possible. Because when we use the word manufacturing, we generally think there's something that belongs to only industry. But Istisna can be used for construction projects, for industrial projects. So both are possible.
Okay, thank you. I think we have one more question, last question.
Assalamu alaikum. This is Dr. Noman from Pakistan.
Okay. So last two questions.
Yeah.
No.
Thank you very much, and we are thankful to this panel for a wonderful discussion on Istisna and Salam. Yes, Istisna is being used by the Islamic financial institutions, but we are not looking, and we can say the industry is not considering the use of Istisna sukuk, especially in development projects. And these development projects, we can say, uplift the society, especially in development countries. So what steps should be taken?
Okay, so your question is about sukuk istisna.
Yeah. Istisna sukuk, basically, for the development of society, for the development of private and public enterprises.
See, this is a good question, and let me comment on this way. That while taking a decision about any product, generally we have Sharia aspect, business aspect, operational and legal. So sometimes there is no Sharia problem. From Sharia perspective, many modes, more than 10 modes are possible. But selection of the mode, keeping in view the risk, as a respectable panelist has said, that the cost overrun, delays, and some other problems. So, and also the marketability of sukuk. So all these are some points while developing a product, the product development team and the business team generally focus on more flexible nature of the sukuk as compared to this type of a strict nature, because the Salam, the Istisna sukuk cannot be traded before the taking the delivery, and also in case of the cost overrun and after, in case of the delays in the delivery of the projects. So these are some hurdles. Otherwise, maybe the short-term Istisna sukuk in some countries, they are considering short-term 3-month commercial paper instead of the commercial paper. So the sukuk, non-tradable sukuk on the basis of Istisna, but may be possible for short-term, but for the bigger projects, so generally it is operationally difficult. From Sharia perspective, this is fine, but from business perspective and operational perspective, ultimately those who are subscribing to these sukuk will face difficulties.
Okay, thank you. Last question.
بالنسبة للاستصناع والسلم، هن في الفقه الإسلامي هي عقود لمحل معدوم الوجود. في السلم محل معدوم الوجود بيكون على مال مثلي تتعدد آحاده. الفقه الحنفي لما جاب الاستصناع صار بيع المعدوم على المال القيمي، ولذلك بنصنف عقد الاستصناع بيع موصوف في الذمة دخل عنصر العمل، ويصنف في المجلة الأحكام العدلية على أساس أنه عقد بيع، بينما عقد المقاولة عقد عمل. طبعا كل واحد له آثاره القانونية. عقد البيع أنا بستطيع أجبرك على التنفيذ العيني قانونا. عقد العمل زي المقاولة ينقسم إلى قائم على الاعتبار الشخصي، لا أستطيع أن أجبر على التنفيذ العيني لأنه بصير في مساس في الحرية الشخصية فبلجأ للتعويض، لكن إذا تخليت عن البعد الشخصي فساعتها بصير في تنفيذ عيني. عقد الاستصناع أوسع من البناء، يعني الأصل إنه لكل معدوم بتقدر في دخل عنصر العمل تقدر تبيعه، عقد بيع. الآن المالية الإسلامية في تطبيقات البنوك بتخلط بين الاستصناع والمقاولة. كثير من عقود المقاولة بتسميها استصناع، يعني أنت لما عندك شقة بدك تعمرها بيجوا بيعملوا لك عليها عقد استصناع. يا أخي هذه الشقة إلك، أنت ما ببيعك، هذا بيعمل لك وبيجهز لك، اللي هو عقد المقاولة الأفضل يسمى. فأنا في رأيي أنه أيوفي يجب أن تفصل بين الاستصناع كعقد بيع ماشي وبين عقد المقاولة كعقد عمل. وأنا ممكن زي ما حكيت أنه مشان أتجنب مخاطر الاستصناع فما لا يشترط زي السلم دفع الثمن مقدما، فأنت ممكن تربطه بمراحل إنجاز العمل فبالتالي بتقل المخاطرة. شكرا.
Okay, he's talking about the istisna contracts and mukawala contracts and the difference between them. That istisna contracts is based on something that doesn't exist and you need to manufacture it and you take the ownership, while aqd al-mukawala is for labor, more for labor in that sense. So anyone care to answer?
طبعا ليس شرطا يعني او الانسر in Arabic so yeah. احيانا انا بعمر الشقه وبشتغل مثلا بطلب من مورد معين انه يبني لي يعني هذا الاثاث يعمره لي، يعني ليس شرط انه انا اشتري الاثاث جاهز، وانما ممكن انا اطلب منه انه هو يبني لي هذا الاثاث من السعر. وعندنا بعض المعاملات في هذا الجانب. طبعا يعني احنا عمرنا شقه في كينيا في نيروبي، لكن احنا ما اشتريناها جاهزه من السوق، يعني طلبنا من الموردين معين انه يعملوا لنا من يعني هذا الاثاث هذا، يعني يبني لنا السرير الديكور كل شيء. فلا ليس شرطا يعني. بارك الله فيك.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you my colleagues, panelists for this fruitful discussion. Thank you for listening, and thank you AAOIFI for this wonderful opportunity to participate in this session. Thank you.